Hello, welcome back. So today we are going to be diving into the concept of loops in JavaScript. Loops are essential tools for efficient and repetitive tasks. They allow you to automate actions by executing a block of code multiple times. Whether you are processing arrays, iterating through data, or creating dynamic content, loops provides the opportunity to achieve more with less code. Okay, so we are going to look at the while loop, the do while loop, the for loop, the for off loop, and the for in loop today. Okay, so let's get right into it. So I'm going to comment out with our title. The first one being, okay, actually let's say loop. Okay, loops. So now the first one being the while loop. So while loop, and while loop is actually not that crazy. So let's declare a variable. Let's say let high equals 0. Okay, so let high equals 0. Let's just declare that variable. So let's say while something simple. Okay, as while high is less than 4, we want to, what do we want to do? We want to console.log say the value of high plus, let's say 2. Okay, actually let's say 1. I just do it gradually, and then let's step high, let's increment high by value of 1. If you have seen my operators class where I explained operators, JavaScript operators in a great detail, you will know by now what this incremental operator is doing. Okay, so now let's go to the console and see what is going to happen. Awesome, you can guess already, right? So we are basically logging the value of high plus 1 to the console, and we are doing it not one time, not 2 times, but how many times? 4 times. And that is because we are declaring a variable let high equals 0, and then we evaluate, and then we basically want to log it to the console, and then we are evaluating. After we log it to the console, we are evaluating if the value of high is still less than 4. If it is still less than 4, we want to keep logging it to the console. But after we log it, right, we are incrementing that value of high by 1. Okay, we are incrementing the value of high by 1. So, and that is why we have it here. And you can see when we declared it, high was 0, and then we log it to we check if high is less than 4. It was less than 4, and then we log it to the console. We say I plus 1, and that is what? 0 plus 1, that is 1, right? And then we increment the value of high by 1, and then that became 2, right? After the first iteration. So basically that's how we got this 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You can see it's all coming from line 7, not line 7, 8, 9, 10, right? It's all coming from this line, right? Because it's finished this loop before it goes out of this. And you can see, let's prove that quickly. Console.log, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Okay, now let's let's just do that. Okay, you can see, right, it finished this first. You can see it didn't leave line 7 until it finished the loop, and then it left line 9 and then moved to line 10, and then through this to the console, right? Perfect. So we can use the increment operator, we can use the decrement operator, it doesn't really matter, but let's do the decrement. Let's change this now. Let's actually, let me now remove this. Let me just copy this and comment this out. Let's comment this out. So let's do the decrement. Okay, can do anything we like. Let's say this is equal to 8, and now we want to, so as long as it's greater, let's change this to greater than 5. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, right, just as expected. Now we initialized high with 8, with a value of 8, and then we are saying that, okay, so long I is greater than 5, we want to keep doing this. Okay, it's fun to us, right? And then we are after we log this to the console, we also want to do another thing. We want to decrement the value of high, right? And that was what we did here, and that's why we have this, right? 987. At the first iteration, we have the value of high to be 8, right? And 8 is of course greater than 5, and then we say 8 plus 1, that is 9, right? And then we decrement it, and then we went over the loop again, and that is how we ended up here, right? And at this point, this is not true anymore, so that's why we broke out of that loop. Okay, it is as simple as that. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly explain the next one, which is the do while loop. I actually like that, it's really fun. Do while loop. Okay, do while loop, awesome. So let's do what are we going to do? So let's say let B or let A equals 0, okay, and then we are going to do something. Now we're going to open a curly brace, and then we're going to say something like console.log let's log A to the console, and then I'm going to increment A, and then I'm going to do this while this my value of A is still very much less than what? Let's say less than 5. Okay, let's see what happens. Perfect. And it is as simple as that, right? It is as simple as that. So we have the variable A initialized with a value of 0, and then we are doing this because it's fun for us, right? We are doing this console.log A, and then we increment the value of A. Then while this is still true, we continue doing this. Okay, and one thing you want to make sure you don't fall into is not to include this, because if you don't include this loop is going to just continue. Okay, it's just going to continue because you are not changing the value of A, and this condition is going to remain true forever till infinity, and then it's just going to continue into infinity. That is what is sometimes referred to as infinite loop. Okay, you don't want to get into that. Okay, although most browsers have a way of stopping that. Okay, anyway, but of course this is not infinite loop, so we are going to remove that comment. Awesome. So I'm just going to comment out this one, so we have more room to code. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, so that is as simple as that. Honestly, you just need to open your block of do something within the curly brace, and then while something is excuse me, while you check the condition. Okay, while you check the condition. Awesome. So now let's look at the for loop. Okay, so we can say something like for we open a bracket. So let's what variable do we? Let's say for let B equals let's initialize it with a 0 value, and then we'll say while that B is still very much less than, let's say, 4, then we have another semicolon, and then we basically increment this. So we're going to do plus plus, and then we're going to open a curly brace, and then we do whatever thing we like to do here. But what we want to do is just to console.log that value of B. Okay, that value of B. So let's see. So this is the for loop. Okay, which is what I use mostly. I use for off and for in also, which actually I use them more often than even the just ordinary for loop. Okay, you are going to see all those things in my Monstack projects, which I will be releasing very soon. Okay, it's going to be a series, but we shall see when it starts dropping. Okay, so we can see here, right? You can see this is coming from line 27, right? Line 27, and it's doing the for loop. Let's comment out this one so that we can be alone here. Okay, you can see, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. And basically is we initialized a variable B equals 0, and then we are checking if B is still less than 4. Then we do this. After we finish doing this, we want to increment the value of B by what? By 1. Okay, and that is what we are doing right there. Okay, that is what we are doing, and it is very straightforward. Okay, it is very, very straightforward. Okay, so we can also, do the opposite of it, just do some reverse stuff, okay? But one thing I want to quickly show you is this. Now, let's say we are trying to, I just want to prove something to you, okay? Let's say I now come down here and then I'm trying to console.log b, okay? Let's see what happens. Perfect. That is what I was expecting, right? If you were expecting that, high five to you, because we don't know this variable b outside of this scope, and I discussed this in my variable class. Okay, I discussed this in my variable class because this here, it's like a block scoped variable. It is not a global scope. We don't know about this variable outside of this this block. Okay, and that is why it says b is not defined, right? It is not defined. So if we want to access b outside of this block, then we need to define this b. We need to define this b up here, okay? And it's still going to work, all right? It's still going to work. Just that we need to make sure we put this one here. This has to be here, okay? If the b has been declared somewhere else, okay? So let's see. And you can see, right? It still works perfectly. It still works perfectly. And you can see b is now 4. When we came out of this loop, b was already 4. And that is, yeah, it was already 4, right? And that is why we, broke out of this loop, because b is now 4. It is no longer less than 4. And that is why when we look at the value of b on line 30, it is now 4, right? It is now 4. Awesome. So that is, is as simple as that. But, it's something that I kind of feel, we need to know, okay? And also, let me make this, more fun. We don't have to always write this one here, okay? We can bring it out because it's not going to run until this body has run anyway, right? So basically what I'm saying is that we can still write this thing this way. This for loop, we can still write it this way. Bring this one down here, okay? Just make sure you don't remove the semicolon, right? So if you have it this way, it will still work. Let's see. You see, right? It still works perfectly. It still works perfectly. Awesome, awesome. Okay, that is really good, and the whole world is happy. Okay, now let's see how we can break out of a loop. Okay, because sometimes we want to break out of the loop, right? Because normally a loop exits when its condition becomes falsy, just like we saw here, right? When the value of b was 4, this loop breaks, right? We broke out of this loop, okay? When the value of b became 4, right? We broke out of it. But we could, still break out of it even if the value is not yet 4, okay? So we could do something like, let me see. Let's see what we want to do. Let's say, where is my cursor? Let's say for let's high equals, say, 0. Let's have a semicolon there, and as long as high is less than, let's say, 10, or let's say 6, let's have another semicolon. Let's increment this, and then let's go into the curly brace, and then we are going to do something like, let's say, if high is equal to, now we are using the equality operator, right? Is equal to, let me think, if it's equal to 4, okay? Now I want to break. Actually, I don't need this curly brace. I want to break, okay? I want to break out of this loop. I don't want this loop, okay? So let's see. Okay, now I want to console.log high, the value of high. Now let's see what happens. You see, right? I'm going to let me just comment out this one just so we are alone right here. You can see, right? Now we broke out of this loop when the value of high became 4. You can see we didn't even log this to the console. Okay, we didn't log this to the console. We can prove that by, let's say we want to break out once the value is equal to 3. That means this will no longer be there, okay? You can see, right? It's no longer there. And we don't have to log this to the console. We could log something else. We can say this is, let's use the ternary operator. Sorry, not the ternary operator, the template literal. We can say this is the first, or let me just say the first post. The first post, or the post number. Actually, I don't even know what to use. The post number high, okay? The post number high, okay? Now let's see what happens. Of course, there's not going to be post number 0. So let's say the post number high plus 1, okay? Which is what we often do in programming. You can say, right, the post number 1, the post number 2, the post number 3, which is what we use this, this thing for most time, right? We don't want to be writing this every time because it's just repetition, okay? And that's why the loops exist, okay? That's why the loops exist. Okay, perfect. And we also have that is the break keyword, the break. We also have the continue, okay? With the continue, we won't necessarily break out of the loop. Or what we're going to do is basically just, continue to the next iteration of the loop, okay? We're just going to, it's like skipping, okay? So let's say when it gets to 3, we want to continue, okay? We want to continue. Here we are trying to continue. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, okay? So I'm going to remove this one, comment it out. Now let's see what happens with this one. Perfect, and that is what I was expecting, right? Now you remember, because you might wonder, you might be asking yourself, oh, but we still have 3, right? This 3 is like the second, or let me say the third iteration, right? Because you can see we started at 0 and then we are adding 1 to this value. That's why it is 3 here, even though it is the second when high was equal to 2, right? And you can see we didn't have the 4. We just skipped from 3 to 5, and that is because we use the continued keyword, okay? That's because we use the continue keyword. Awesome. So that is really, wonderful. Now we're going to quickly look at the famous one, the for off loop and the for in loop. But let's, slow and steady wins the race. Let's say the for for off. So the for off loop is used to iterate over iterable objects like arrays, strings, maps, sets, etc. It provides a simpler syntax compared to the traditional for loop, and automatically iterates over the values of the iterables, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate that now. So let's say we have const fruits, okay? Let's say we have a list of fruits, which in Python we say we have a list, right? Here, let's say we have an array, okay? So we have apple, we have banana, okay? And then we have, let's say we have orange. I don't know how to spell orange, oh my god. Then let's say we have a grape, okay? Let's say we have grape, okay? So now let's put that. So let's now say, let's do for const fruits. It's kind of similar to for each loop, okay? Const fruits of that should be fruits, okay? So the fruit is the variable. So basically we are just looping through. Then I'm going to open my curly brace. I want to console.log. What am I consoling? Let's put the fruits to the console, on the console. Okay, so now we should see this list listed here. Let's see. And as you can see, right, expectedly we have what we expected to see. Let's bring it here. You can see, right, we have the okay, it doesn't really matter, we can still see apple, banana, orange, grape. Basically is iterating over these arrays, and we have every item logged to the console, okay? And we could have excuse me, We could also iterate through a number. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, let's say const numbers equals let's say array of 1 2 3 4 5 6. Doesn't really matter. Just trying to learn here. Okay, now I'm just going to bring this, I'm lazy, so I don't want to type that again. Let's just remove this. Say num. Doesn't matter. That can be anything. Okay, just this one has to be numbers. Okay, what we are iterating over. And then this is none. Okay, we are trying to console.none. So now we come here, you can see, right? So we iterate through these arrays, and then we just basically print the items of these arrays, on the console. Perfect. Now let's comment out that one. Also, anything that is iterable that we can iterate over. Okay, so I'm going to do one here. Let's say even a string. Let's say let string equals to, or let's make it descriptive. Let's country equals let's choose Kenya. Doesn't really matter. We can choose Zimbabwe, we can choose South Africa, Nigeria, Tanzania, Ghana. It doesn't really matter. United States, Canada, United Kingdom, any country. Okay, Australia. It doesn't really matter. If I didn't mention your country, don't be mad at me. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We are one. Okay, so let's character of country. And like I said, this can be anything. We are the one naming this. Okay, we can say let A of country. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we want to console.log A. Okay, but to make it descriptive, I would say this is just the character of that item that we are looping over. Okay, and you can see, right, this is Kenya. Okay, if we change it to say Nigeria, you see, right, it's basically just looping over it and just logging into the console, and it is as simple as that. So I'm going to comment this out. Excuse me. Okay, so let's do the last one here that I have here. So I'm going to do the for in loop. Okay, so this one is simple. It's mostly used on objects. So let's say const person equals name, and like I have told you before, even though we have not really done the concept of, we have not taken the concept of objects as a class on this channel, which we will still do later, because object is a big topic. So I decided to do that, face it squarely later. Okay, awesome. So but this is an object. It's a person object, and it has the property name, and the name here is going to, let's say, it's going to be Reddington. Again, I like Reddington, I don't know why. Anyway, okay, so let's say age is 30, and we're going to say, let's say profession is what is the profession? Let's say engineer. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Or let's say pilot. Actually, that should be a string. Okay, let's say pilot. Okay, awesome. And that is an object. Okay, now I'm going to loop over this using the for in loop. So we're just going to say something like for open this, and const key in person. So we are using the key. Okay, that is the we have the key, and then the item, the property. Okay, so we have key value pair. Okay, just like the properties are like key value pair. Okay, so then we have what are we going to do? Let's just do something. It doesn't really matter. So console.log let's do key, the key, because we also kind of declared it as a variable. So we are going to concatenate it with let me think. Okay, let's do colon, and I'm just going to concatenate it again. I'm check the person's object and the position of the key that we are looping over to basically bring the value of that key, the value at that key position. Okay, when I get to objects, you will understand all of this very well. Okay, but I believe you should still be able to follow. Okay, so let's log this to the console. Perfect. That is what I okay, let me put a space between this colon, so that is going to be here. So let's leave that space. Perfect. So this is what I was expecting to get. Okay, and it's basically looping over this object and just logging to the console the properties of this object. And it is as simple as that. Okay, it is as simple as that. We can use this on arrays also, but it is recommended to always use the for of loop with arrays. Okay, but you can use anyway, it doesn't really matter. Like if I want to use this for in loop for the arrays that I have up there, where is it, the numbers array. Actually, let me just copy it. Okay, so let's use that on the number arrays. Okay, let me uncomment this. So I'm just going to basically say something like for const index. It doesn't matter, that can be anything. Okay, in numbers, and then I'm just going to come out here in the curly brace console.log, and then what do I want to do? Let me just print the numbers. Okay, the index position, then it's just going to print it. Okay, but it's kind of straightforward to do it with for of loop the way we did it here, but it doesn't really matter, your preference. Okay, and that will bring us to the end of this loop class. Just to summarize, we did the while loop, the do while loop, the for loop, the for of loop, and we finished it with the for in loop. Okay, and that will bring us to the end of the class, and I hope again you can share this this channel with your friends, like this video, share this video also, and I will see you in the next class. Bye.